I'm an old man now, well past 60, and by this point I've learned that trouble doesn't always roll up waving a red flag. Sometimes it comes barreling across your cornfield behind the wheel of a white luxury SUV doing 40 like it's entitled to the sunrise and the soil beneath it. Folks online always joke, just use a shotgun old-timer. But let me tell you, you don't need a 12 gauge when you've got something better patience paperwork and 3 rows of legally posted spike strips buried right under your own dirt road. Before all this went down, my farm was the quietest patch in Nebraska. Cattle grazing, wind rolling through the corn, that sunrise coffee on a porch older than I am. 80 acres, my acres, without a single HOA rule taped to any mailbox, no neighbor measuring your grass with a ruler. Just freedom, the kind you can breathe and the kind that makes the world feel big again. That changed one bright May morning, 7:12 a.m. sharp. It started as a low hum. Not a tractor or an old pickup, but something expensive, a kind of engine that belongs in a suburban showroom, not on a field. I was standing on my porch, coffee in hand, dew on the crops, when a white Cadillac Escalade rocketed over the ridge, sunlight glinting off the chrome. She didn't bother with the road, just cut a diagonal right through my corn. Mud sprayed behind her tires, bouncing and skipping as if she were shooting a commercial for how little she cared about what she was destroying. I didn't shout, didn't even blink. Just stood there, coffee cooling in my hand, while this stranger carved a path through everything I'd worked for. The part that still gets me, she waved. Gave me this little pageant wave through her windshield like I was supposed to feel honored she'd chosen my field for her parade. White SUV, gold sunglasses, blonde hair bobbing like life never knocked her sideways. Then just like that, she was gone, vanishing toward the gates of Creekview Bluffs. I muttered, "Well, I'll be damned." The next day I convinced myself it had to be a mistake. Maybe she was lost. Maybe there was an emergency. Surely nobody with a working brain would do that twice. But then day 2 arrived. Same time, same SUV, same queenly wave. Only this time she veered even closer to my cattle fence, sending my steers scattering. I hustled down toward the road, waving my arms, trying to get her to stop. She rolled her window halfway, just enough for me to catch the flash of those sunglasses, and looked at me like I was the one trespassing. "Ma'am, this is private property. You can't keep driving through here." She gave me a smile, if you can call it that, the kind folks use when they think you're beneath them. "Relax," she said. "There's a community easement. It's been here since the 70s. Everyone knows that." "Not on my deed," I replied. "You're trespassing." She laughed, loud and easy, like I'd told the best joke of the year. "Well, maybe you bought the wrong land," she tossed out as she drove around me, not even slowing down. I walked back to my porch in silence, coffee now cold. Sat there staring at the tire tracks. I felt well, not angry yet, just stunned, irritated in a way I hadn't been in years. That afternoon, my neighbor Hank stopped by. Hank's been farming longer than most HOA board members have been alive. He saw the tracks and shook his head the way only a farmer can. "She from Creekview, ain't she?" he asked. "Looks like it. That whole neighborhood's built on the idea the world's one big cul-de-sac. People like her, they think the planet spins around their garage doors." I managed to laugh, but it wasn't enough to lighten my mood. 2 days later, she came again. Then again. Sometimes twice in a day, her engine roaring across my land like a soundtrack to arrogance. By the 3rd pass that week, I'd made up my mind. I wasn't raised to pick fights, but I wasn't raised to let anyone walk all over me either. I went to town, sat down with my lawyer, Priya, sharp as a tack, patient as a saint. She combed through property records. No easement, she told me. Every pass she makes is trespassing. "What do?" I asked. Her advice was simple, but it changed everything. Document everything. So I did. Mounted trail cameras in the trees, marked dates and times, took photos of ruts and damaged fence wire, bought a bright red notebook, labeled it Incident Log, and wrote down everything, weather, wind, direction, the minute her SUV tore through, how long the cattle were spooked. Some call that obsessive. I call it court-friendly. 2 days later, I took it all to the sheriff's office. Last time I'd gone, I was brushed off. Rural departments don't move fast, not unless someone's bleeding. But I kept at it. Karen, meanwhile, got bold. I caught her on camera leaning out with a metal rod, knocking down my new signs, laughing while she did it. She'd speed up by the barn, honk her horn, sometimes yell something out the window I couldn't quite hear, probably insults. That's when something shifted. One morning I found Daisy, my pregnant cow, panting and wild-eyed by the fence, sweat streaked down her side. The fence wire was bent where she'd panicked. That's when it stopped being about annoyance. She was hurting my animals, that I couldn't let stand. I didn't grab a shotgun or storm into Creekview, I just whispered enough and got to work. I upgraded everything. Bought more cameras, better signs, big reflective visible from the highway. Marked GPS coordinates, photographed it all, and sent copies to Priya and the sheriff's office. Karen didn't care. She just bent another sign. Hank watched the footage and said, "She's either fearless or the kind of stupid that comes from never being told no." I started to wonder if I could trust myself not to lose my temper. I called Priya. What do I do? Because if I confront her again, I can't guarantee it'll stay polite. She said, not revenge, not violence, not anger preparation. If she wants to keep driving through your land, next time something's going to change. Legally, permanently on your terms. So that's exactly what I did. I researched vehicle deterrence, professional-grade law enforcement approved, designed to safely puncture tires. No hidden traps. Nothing that could hurt someone. Just a consequence, not a weapon. I filed every receipt, every serial number, every photo. Priya laid out the process. Put up warning signs, notify the sheriff in writing, invite them to inspect, document every step. Friday morning, Deputy Ruiz arrived, inspected every sign and device. Anyone driving past these is choosing to ignore them, she said. Patrol note signed on the record. Call us when not if something happens. I barely slept that weekend, but I wasn't nervous. Just waiting, which is its own kind of storm. Sure enough, Monday at 7:14, the cameras caught a glint of chrome, Karen barreling down as always, blowing past 3 signs without touching the brakes. Then pop, 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 the front tires went soft. She kept going, then the rear tires hit the next strip. Metal grinding, dust swirling. She finally stopped between 2 warning signs. She stepped out. No more smugness, just rage. "You have got to be kidding me," she screamed, slapping her shredded tire. "You'll pay for my car." All $90,000 of it. I shook my head, tired. Save it for Deputy Ruiz, she's on her way. Her anger flickered, replaced by something closer to fear. She pointed her phone at me, recording. "I'm being held hostage. This man is violent. I just spoke to her camera. Calm. My name is Nate Lyman. This is my land. You are trespassing. There are warning signs every 50 feet. Law enforcement was notified." She lowered the phone, realizing drama wouldn't work. "I'm calling my lawyer." "That's a good idea." Moments later, red and blue lights topped the hill. Karen started up her performance again. "He tried to kill me. Planted spikes on public property." Ruiz just looked at me. "Morning, Mr. Lyman. What's going on?" I didn't even get a word in before Karen went off again, but Ruiz wasn't buying it. "You're being cited for criminal trespassing," she told Karen. "Your vehicle is a civil issue. You'll need to arrange towing." Right on cue, the tow truck rumbled in. Karen's card got declined twice before it finally went through. She stood in the dirt, humiliated, clutching a citation and a receipt she didn't want. For the first time in months, the road was quiet. I finally felt something return: peace. Not relief, not satisfaction, just inevitability. But karma wasn't done. Hank showed up a few days later, grinning. "Your little tire popper episode's all over Facebook. Folks are calling her Spike Strip Sally. And get this, her HOA held an emergency meeting. She's been paying her lawyer with HOA money. Big chunks. They're mad as hornets." Turns out consequences rarely arrive alone. Soon after, the local paper ran a story: HOA treasurer under investigation for misuse of funds. Patricia, the assistant treasurer, blew the whistle. Karen's name was on every check. Court day came. The judge, older lady, silver hair, the kind who can silence a room with one look. Read the charges: criminal trespass, destruction of property, livestock endangerment, financial misconduct. My evidence, every log and photo laid out in the binder. Karen looked nothing like she did behind the wheel. No sunglasses, no smugness, just a small, shaky voice. She pleaded guilty, was fined, ordered to pay restitution, put on probation, barred from holding any HOA position for 5 years. When the gavel fell, the echo felt final. Later, word spread Karen and Richard sold their house, moved away, split up. Summer settled in, the farm grew quiet. The cattle grazed calmly, Daisy's new calf at her side. My dirt road stayed smooth and untouched. Funny thing about justice, when you fight for it the right way, you don't just win. You stay whole. My father always said, the strongest man isn't the one who hits back first. It's the one who knows when not to. This year, I finally understood that. If I'd let anger win, the story would have ended in regret, not peace. Sometimes people like Karen don't break because of consequences. They break because the world finally stops enabling them. And when life holds up a mirror, they don't always like what they see. Since all this, I've gotten letters from folks all over, people who say they wish they'd stood up for themselves sooner. That's why I'm sharing this, so someone else can draw their line in the dirt a little firmer, a little sooner. Not with threats, not with anger, but with patience and proof. Late one night, I walked down to my gate, hand on the metal, whispering, still private, still mine, and I hope it always will be. So let me ask, where do you draw your line? Ever had your own Karen moment? Drop your story below. Let's see where justice lands in your life.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.